Idaho's News Channel 7. From Idaho's News Channel 7, this is Viewpoint.
Welcome to a super edition of Viewpoint. I'm Joe Paris. Maybe an odd place to start this morning, but I've always loved watching super teams come together. Unlikely crossovers that are uniquely positioned to take on incredible ideas. In the fiction world, the Avengers come to mind. Sports, the 96 Bulls. Music fans once had the Highwaymen and the Traveling Wilburys. Those are fun examples, but the state of Idaho is set for an impactful and innovative new partnership that'll set the Gem State apart. This week, Idaho National Laboratory, Idaho universities, they put together the final pieces of an academic trifecta, joining forces with Boise State, Idaho State, and the University of Idaho. It's a calculated move to merge the intellectual firepower of academia with the practical prowess of one of the nation's premier research laboratories and the strategic understanding for premier education and research. The super agreement is essentially creating an intellectual particle accelerator. Picture this: ambitious and excited students working alongside seasoned professors to collaborate with INL's veteran researchers, all working to crack the code on next-generation energy solutions in building digital fortresses around our critical infrastructure. It's where the theoretical brilliance meets practical application, a fusion, if you will, of academic insight and real-world innovation. Not just to keep the lights on and enjoy some fun, but to keep America's energy future burning bright and secure. And joining us here this morning, we have an unbelievable panel. This is all basically the university presidents of our public universities, as well as the director of INL. Just to introduce everyone, we have INL Director John Wagner. Good morning, Director Wagner. Sitting right next to him, no relation, Dr. Robert Wagner, president of Idaho State University. Dr. Marlene Trump from Boise State University. And all the way up north, University of Idaho President Scott Green. We'll start, though, with Director Wagner. The super agreement. What is the super agreement? I know I touched on it, but what is it and how did it really come together?
So first of all, thanks for having us. This is really great to be all together with you. So the super agreement, strategic partnership for strategic university partnership for premier research and education. This is a targeted, very strategic set of agreements with each of the universities. It really takes our long-standing partnership at the laboratory to the next level with each of the universities. And I couldn't be more excited to have signed these agreements and moving forward towards execution.
For the university presidents, I mean, when did this first get on your radar? Was this kind of just like a dream scenario? How did it come true?
Well, it really was John's leadership, right, and vision. And I remember, I think he called all of us, and just, let us know that, hey, this is where we'd like to take, the lab, and this is how we'd like to bring all of the universities into this. And I just remember it being a brilliant vision. I signed on right away. So we're just very excited about it all.
In terms of the practical application of this program, how do you see this playing out at Boise State and I guess in general terms as well?
Well, each of us takes our specific research expertise and the kinds of partnerships we already have with the lab, but it allows us to really amplify those. And so what we're doing is creating a lot of joint opportunities for our faculty and their researchers, the students that you described working alongside them. And in our case, we're looking at materials in extreme environments. We're working on cybersecurity, and what we're interested in is how can we actually develop materials that'll work in a nuclear environment so we can produce more secure energy for the future.
And when you talk about a major partnership like this, I mean, what excites you most about having the perspective of not just getting to work with each other, but having it be meaningful work that will actually make a difference moving forward for the state?
Sure, Joe. First of all, Idaho State University, as well as our sister institutions, we've been working with INL for decades. Mm-hmm. It's been a tremendous benefit to this state. What these super agreements do is it really focuses our attention for the next generation of research that's going to help make America secure when it comes to energy, to cybersecurity. At Idaho State University, for us, it's critical and strategic materials. It is environment and environmental and energy security. These are ways that our faculty can focus their research efforts alongside INL, very skilled professionals. And then you bring students in and graduate students in. So we're not only doing work now that's going to really support our economy and the position that we're taking in the world in these areas, but we're also training the next generation by bringing graduate and undergraduate students in.
From an INL perspective, I think the easy question is, what do you guys get out of this? Why are you in this situation? For the universities, you could kind of assume their perspective, but for INL, I mean, this is a generous thing to do.
Well, it's not. It's in our overall best interest. So let me start. I should have probably said earlier that we've had long-standing relationships. I want to make sure that's clear. And when you look at our over 6,000 employees, nearly 1,800 of them have a degree from one of these three institutions. I mean, think about that. That's more than a quarter of our total workforce has a degree from one of your institutions. And so workforce development collaboration is something that we've already been doing. What we're really looking to do is continue all those great things, and maybe we'll talk a little bit about some of those things, but take it to the next level with a very strong focus in these areas that have already been mentioned. Research dollars need to go further. We've got clear signals from the nation in terms of what we need in terms of energy dominance, energy security, critical infrastructure security. Nuclear energy is a part of that energy mix. And so what this enables us to do is continue all that collaboration that we're already doing, but really put an extra focus on these areas that are particularly important for the nation and the planet today.
I think you highlight a major point. This is not a brand new partnership in terms of INL is just working with universities for the first time. Long-standing tradition. When we talk about these specific areas of expertise, let's start actually with the University of Idaho. What areas is U of I kind of working at, and what do you guys hope to excel as a part of the super agreement?
Yeah, so nuclear waste management is one of them, and reducing the amount of nuclear waste that comes out of these systems. Integration of nuclear systems. For instance, we are working with INL on 3D printing of parts that are used in these molten salt reactors. Really cool stuff. And then around power engineering, around the cyber infrastructure in our utility system. We actually work with SEL right now to they have these no-fault power lines. So in other words, their relays will actually turn off so they don't cause fires, when they break. But that also creates some vulnerabilities. So we actually build cybersecurity into the hardware itself, so that those can't be used for nefarious purposes. So we want to protect the entire transmission infrastructure of the United States, and INL, we can, that's kind of our mission with them.
From up north down to Pocatello, Idaho State, what do the Bengals and the students there hope to focus on?
Sure. So first of all, the super agreement specifically talks about critical and strategic materials and minerals, as well as environmental and energy security. I do want to mention that I am sure with the other institutions as well, we'll continue to do the other great research that we are doing, whether it's nuclear research with INL related to biology, chemistry, safety. For us at Idaho State, though, to have these two areas, knowing the importance of critical and strategic materials and minerals to the United States, making sure that we really lower our dependence on these materials in other countries, that we find them here, that we really utilize the resources that we have. The state of Idaho, in fact, is well poised with materials just here within the estate. So it makes sense for us to focus on those areas to not only benefit the nation, but benefit the state of Idaho.
Because technology, as we know, to say technology is the future is an understatement. The infrastructure of how you build it will always be interesting. Into Boise now, at Boise State. Areas of expertise, where will the Broncos dive into?
Well, we already have two really long-standing partnerships. The Energy Policy Institute, which when people think about this kind of research, they tend to think about the natural science or engineering, but there's also a lot of policy questions that are a part of that. So we have the Energy Policy Institute, but we have the advanced sensors and instrumentation work that we've been doing, which is related to this material science engineering and thinking about how we develop materials that are more resilient in a nuclear environment. And so we're looking at new ways that we can advance that work, and also looking for new ways to innovate. And it's one of the things that we're most proud of at Boise State is that we're so nimble and adaptive, and innovation is something we've been nationally recognized for, but we're excited to work with INL to think about what kinds of new materials can we produce, what kinds of new strategies can we develop. And so, as President Wagner said, it allows you to focus your energies as a community on thinking about how you really do new things, make new things happen.
Maybe I glossed over this at the top, but to have everybody sitting at this table is fairly unique. I know you guys are different parts of the state, very busy. To have you all at this table and to kind of think about the metaphor here of having everybody at the table, what does that mean in terms of being able to work together and achieving more than what you would be able to do within your own organization?
Yeah, so it's not lost on me at all to get to be together and to do this, and what a visible and important new phase in the relationship between the laboratory and the Idaho universities this represents. But the other part of this is as separate institutions, we can all sort of do our own thing, and maybe we overlap, maybe we complement, maybe we don't. To be able to talk to each of the university leaders and identify specific areas that we want to work together on, where those overlaps might be to be effective and where they shouldn't be, or where they would not be as effective, and just to be able to have those conversations and work through this. As I mentioned already, we all have limited resources, whether that's people or dollars or facilities, and to bring those together in a coordinated way in these areas is something that is quite unique.
When I was first reading about the agreement and kind of what the hopes would be, you think about academia and higher education kind of as a competitive field sometimes. It is competitive. But when you have something like this in Idaho, as an entire group, to me, it feels like you put the Gem State as a potential powerhouse in scientific research. And no disrespect, I don't think a lot of people think, oh, Idaho scientific research. But with INL and everybody coming to the table, I mean, how do you see that playing out in the coming years?
Well, INL's been an incredible partner, I think, for all of us in creating research. And I think John's vision is that, we become a nuclear powerhouse as well, and an energy powerhouse. And I think we're all striving to do that. What really isn't known is that they've already helped us in that regard with our research. We can acquire great faculty because, INL literally gives us their old supercomputers, which, by the way, are some of the fastest supercomputers in the world, and they give us access to all of that, and that's incredibly important for our modeling, for the AI that we've been building on our own campus. It's a tremendous asset, and we're very grateful to INL. As John said, we've all been working with them a long time. I think they opened in 1949. We had a relationship then. I think he said we started teaching there in 1953. This is just a new phase, and he's got the vision, and we want to be part of it.
We're going to take a real quick break, but when we come back, we're going to talk about the student interaction and the workforce development. A lot of talk about what the future of Idaho will look like. We'll talk about how this special partnership can help shape that. You're watching Viewpoint. We'll be right back.
How would you like to save a small fortune in taxes when you're retired? Here to talk about it is Ryan and Tyson Thacker of Boss Retirement Solutions, 5-time winners of the Best of State Award. And Ryan and Tyson, you have some good news for us about taxes in retirement.
Nisha, we sure do. And if you stopped and added up how much you'll pay in taxes when you retired, and we're talking about taxes on your IRA and 401k withdrawals, taxes on the growth from your investments every year, the taxes on your Social Security benefits and other investment income, well, if you add all of those taxes up each year and then multiplied it by 20 or 30 years in retirement, this number could be staggering. And you would see how you could be paying even more taxes in retirement than you were when you were working.
Well, Tyson, I'm thinking most people have not even done the math.
They haven't done the math, Nisha, but it's a giant wake-up call. The good news is you have more control over how much you pay in taxes in retirement than you know. And if you take advantage of some simple tax planning strategies now, you could save a small fortune in taxes every year in retirement.
Ryan, how can our viewers learn more?
Well, we'll show you exactly how much money you could save with a free customized Boss Retirement Tax Savings Analysis. It's really simple. We help you calculate what your taxes will be in retirement on those retirement accounts. Then we'll show you how much money you could save just by taking advantage of these simple tax planning strategies.
That sounds great, Ryan and Tyson. Thank you so much. If you have saved more than $200,000 for retirement, schedule your free customized retirement tax savings analysis now by calling 208-266-8213. This offer is only available if you call today. So call 208-266-8213. And remember, it's not what you make, it's what you keep.
Welcome back to Viewpoint. We have a super roundtable here for you this morning. Again, joining us for this episode of Viewpoint, we have the INL director, John Wagner, sitting here next to Dr. Robert Wagner, president of Idaho State. To my left, Dr. Marlene Trump from Boise State, and Scott Green, president of the University of Idaho. When we talk about INL, I know that when I talk to viewers, they talk about the nuclear work out there and how unique it is to Idaho. And something that I think a lot of people know, maybe others are learning, at INL, cybersecurity is becoming one of the top things to research. I was talking with our congressional delegation last year, and they were saying, hey, the biggest important work in cyber defense is happening in Idaho. Tell me about the work in cybersecurity right now.
Absolutely, but if I may, let me give you some broader context.
Yeah.
So Idaho National Laboratory is a U.S. Department of Energy laboratory. So we serve the interests of the nation through research, development, and demonstration. Our vision is to change the world's energy future. Most of us know about us for the energy part of it, nuclear energy, how nuclear energy integrates with other energy sources. The second part of our vision statement, excuse me, is to secure our nation's critical infrastructure. So that's the energy security piece that doesn't, frankly, get as much attention oftentimes as the nuclear piece, because the nuclear piece is our heritage. Securing our critical infrastructure, the big part of that is cybersecurity, what we call industrial control system cybersecurity. It's not the cybersecurity like on your laptop, what we would call IT cybersecurity. This is security for systems that make physical actions happen. These components are actually throughout our infrastructure. And when I say critical infrastructure, I think about the electricity grids that we all rely on, water treatment and distribution facilities that we all rely on every single day, oil and gas systems and transportation systems. This is things that we all rely on every day. These control systems are in all of that. And if they are vulnerable, the things that we rely on every day are vulnerable. So our researchers, I probably feel like I'm going on too long, but our researchers focus on how do we make sure that that critical infrastructure is secure by focusing on these control systems that could be accessed potentially by cyber means and disrupt these things that we rely on every day.
I appreciate the way that you describe cybersecurity too, because I think a lot of us, including myself, when you say cybersecurity, like, I don't want someone to get into my emails, but it's much more than getting into our emails, as you touched about. I mean, it's the electrical grid. There are bad actors out there that want to threaten very important infrastructure, water, energy, all kinds of really big things, and we know that the students of today are working to protect that to tomorrow. I know at Boise State, the CORE program, what's going on there? What are you guys working on?
So it's Cyber Operations and Resilience. That's what the acronym is for. And it's a partnership with INL. And we have right now over 400 students. 55% of them are from Idaho. So we're preparing an Idaho population to lead in Idaho. But that's also produced other efforts, some really critical efforts like cyber-informed engineering. So we're training our engineering grads to be ready to do the kind of work that Director Wagner described, where they are cyber informed as they go out into the workplace, whatever their area of engineering, because you can't be a construction manager or an electrical engineer without understanding the critical cyber elements of that.
And I know that up at the University of Idaho, you guys are already working in the field. Tell me about what the students are working on up there.
Yeah, so we have an undergraduate, graduate, now a PhD program. But one of the first things I did when I joined the university, I had the opportunity to visit Idaho Falls, where John has mentioned, you know, we have students there, and we have a master's class, and we have something called an attack and defense lab down in the basement, down in the dark basement in one of these buildings. And I went down there, and they had, you know, monitors like this all over the place, and it looked like war games. I mean, things were being attacked, and they had all these coffee pots along the side. And I just thought it's because they were working late. And I asked, well, what are the coffee pots for? He says, well, we reprogram the thermal dynamics of those coffee pots to replicate nuclear cores. And if we lose one, they go off. And it was just remarkable. And I'm watching these students with these war games, and I have to tell you, we're in very good hands in this country. It just makes you feel really good that these folks are trained. They can go out right now and help protect our utility infrastructure.
And I know that there are times we get questions from the community about what is the future going to look like? What are the kids of today doing? I know in Idaho we talk a lot about career technical. We talk a lot about post-secondary plans. I know a major conversation at the legislature this year and previous years has been about workforce development. When we talk about this program and the actual tangible difference that our students and professors and our professionals can make moving forward with this, what kind of comes to mind in terms of the vision out there?
Sure, these agreements really represent a trifecta. It's industry working with public higher education supported in meeting the needs of state government. It's those three entities working together that really demonstrates the value of public higher education, the vision that our governor's office and legislature has for this state, for economic development, for growth of our workforce. The bottom line is the state of Idaho is going to need workforce. And at our institutions, we are committed to providing that workforce. So at our campus in Idaho Falls, our campus in Pocatello, as we're not only working alongside and doing research, but we're also training the workforce, the growing workforce that INL needs, that other industry partners need. So the state of Idaho is investing. It's investing in its future through supporting the public research institutions and our relationships with industry and the important role that INL plays in our economy for the state and for our country.
I'll throw a question out to the group because I just something came to mind with AI and the advancement in technology. I remember a professor my freshman year of college said, it's possible that the jobs that you guys will have one day do not exist today. I guess maybe starting with INL, when you have these types of pipelines and these really bright young kids from Idaho, do you think the jobs of the future exist today, or do you think maybe that is a little oversimplification?
So first of all, the capabilities around generative AI, these large language models, are stunning, and they're moving so fast. And there's kind of an excitement part of that, and then there's people that are concerned about that as well. And we don't have time to dive too far into that. But I would just say that the jobs of tomorrow will look different than the jobs of today. And what I continue to kind of think about when I talk to these these educational leaders and our research leaders is those who embrace these capabilities, those who learn how to use these capabilities to further their impact and their outcomes are going to be very, very successful. Those who don't actually could potentially be passed by. And so it's so important for not just my research staff, but our students in Idaho to understand what these capabilities are, start to get familiar with them, start to learn and apply them to whatever it is they're doing in life, because I think it's just going to be absolutely essential to their future.
Now, Dr. Trump, I'm curious. I know a lot of Boise State students, and they're going off in all kinds of different directions. How do you think this type of agreement positions your student body moving forward to adapt as the workforce does in real time? As it's highlighted, you don't want to be left behind.
Well, I'll tell you, I think that one of the things John said that's really important is these tools, these new tools that we have are changing the world that we live in. And you asked Joe, does it mean that someone's not going to be prepared when they go out in the workforce because there are all these changes? Well, we're all trying to integrate that into our curriculum, but just as importantly, we're not teaching, like if you simply graduate an engineer, when that person walks across the stage, if you're just pumping knowledge into their head, they get that diploma in their hand and everything's changed because the world is moving so quickly. So what you have to do is teach them to think like an engineer and to be an innovator and to be able to take up those new tools, because then they're prepared for anything. So what we're all doing and what we're striving to do for our students all the time is give them access to these tools, but most importantly, teach them how to be thinkers and learners so that they're ready for anything that comes next.
I imagine one of the questions our audience will be wondering as we do come to an end of our show here, unfortunately. I'm told we have 1 minute, so quickly, maybe just around the table, how quickly do you think this program will result in tangible differences?
I think it already is.
Okay, already is?
It is making an impact right now.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Okay, so look at this. We got everybody at the table agreeing on one big subject. We can do sports and academic battles another time. But again, thank you so much. This is such a privilege to have all of you here physically at the table together. I would love to do this again sometime, so maybe we'll figure out another big topic and we could always circle back to the super agreement. Of course, we will be following this and we could have some more info for you as it becomes available at ktvb.com. Again, thank you so much to our guests. We We do have to take a break, but Viewpoint will wrap up right after this.
Why would you buy life insurance from anyone else when Senior Life gives you all your money back? It's simple. When other companies say they save you a percentage of your money, Senior Life says we give it all back. That's right. With return of premium life insurance from Senior Life, we don't save you a percentage of your money, we give it all back, 100%. It works like this. If you pass away while you're insured, your loved ones get a check for the coverage amount you chose. But if you're still living at the end of the term, you get back all the money you paid, guaranteed. Spend it any way you wish. While others may talk about saving you money, Senior Life is the only one giving it all back. Return of premium term life insurance gives you protection if you need it and 100% cash back if you don't. Get all your money back with return of premium life insurance from Senior Life. Call the number on your screen now for free information. You have no obligation. Call now.
In 2024, the IRS flagged approximately $16.5 billion in tax refunds for possible identity fraud.
Someone stole my Social Security number and filed a tax return in my name, and I'm a CPA.
Someone used my Social Security number to get a $9,000 tax return in my name.
Your tax forms have all the personal information needed to commit identity theft, and you're not the only one with a copy. Your tax prep company, employers, and government agencies all have your personal information too, and it only takes one vulnerability to put your identity at risk. Only LifeLock alerts you to the widest volume of threats others could miss. And if you become a victim of identity theft, a dedicated U.S.-based restoration specialist will fix it, guaranteed. Plus, all LifeLock members are backed by the LifeLock $1 Million Protection Package, including reimbursement for stolen funds. Call now or go online and use promo code TAXTV to save 35% off an annual plan for your first year.
Welcome back to Viewpoint, a memorable episode, at least for me as the host. But yes, thank you to our guests again, INL Director John Wagner, Dr. Robert Wagner, President of Idaho State, Boise State President Dr. Marlene Trump, and President of the University of Idaho, Scott Green. The super agreement is something that I know that we will be following for the years to come. It is something that I hear and you get the energy from that they believe in and they want to make a difference moving forward. Something that really stuck with me is our conversation about the jobs that we are talking about today. They may not even exist yet. Something to really think about. Well, thanks so much for joining us here on Viewpoint. I'm Joe Paris. We will catch you next time.
Continue with us and watch free now on the KTVB Plus app everywhere you stream.